Alan? Yeah. Or, not Alan. Alright. Just making sure that we're good, that like everything's on.
That would be the least of my worries.
Kaplunk.
Kerplunk. Hey, we're getting there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I found the biggest, what I consider to be one of the biggest flaws in the accounting system and its use.
Good to go?
Yeah, I said we're going live. He said good night.
Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. We had just done a walkthrough. Jason, Bert, Ron, and I of Building 2. Take some notes, and we'll be looking at having that building assessed and seeing if it's viable for remodeling. So tonight's meeting, we just have to reshuffle the liaison assignments and get an update from our administrator and old and new business. Alright. So, like as far as liaison assignments are concerned, John had fire department. I couldn't find it in my notes of all the ones that. What do you have, Jay? So you have police, the police department.
Yeah. I believe you and I were put as co on the police to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever changed.
Yes and no. No, 'cause we all kind of speak with whoever.
Let's see if I did have
And I have a highway, parks and rec, and planning board. Which I'd like to keep those assignments myself, so I don't know if did you want to change anything that you have, Jay?
Well, all I have is the police.
Okay. I think there's a smaller, like one of the commissions.
Oh, Heritage maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I have an objection to you staying on this planning board.
Yeah.
One, when we had our discussions about me coming on board, it was partly conditional upon me assuming ex officio on the planning board. And two, I'm the best person suited to be on the planning board as their ex officio.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 8 years of service on there, and I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Hampshire. You got any credentials to match that?
No.
Didn't think so.
No. I've enjoyed my time on the planning board, and it's helped me understand quite a bit of the function. So,
So I'll take over planning board. if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
what do you think, Jay?
How long have you been on the planning board?
A year and a half.
John
Yep.
would like to make.
Am I allowed to make a comment?
Yes.
So, for me, I will tell you to some extent, as the planning board chair, it is both 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, in that the planning board can always benefit from Bert's expertise, but I think it would also help us to have another selectman become more aware of and familiar with all of the stuff that goes on in the planning board. But beyond that, the planning board hasn't expressed a preference as a board. And of course, that, even if the board did, this is obviously the selectmen's decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for your input, John. So for now, I'm gonna stay on the planning board.
Okay, I'd like to bring that to a vote, please.
Okay. Wanna make a motion?
Move that I be appointed ex officio to the planning board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So you'll have the fire department, so,
Okay.
I can't find my notes.
And what other ones? Who's taking highway?
I have the highway department.
So you're gonna grab all the?
I'm not grabbing anything, it was just, it was what was assigned to me
Well,
originally.
we're
Yeah.
shuffling,
Yeah,
let's spread it out.
so do you
If we
want,
can, just pause a minute, I'd like to make a motion that Sean remain as liaison to planning board. Is that what
Oh.
we're doing? Are we going through every one, or are you keeping the ones that were assigned?
well, keeping the ones that are assigned, that
Oh.
were assigned to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay.
And there's highway department?
Yeah, so it's, planning, highway, and parks and rec were what I had since I became selectman. And I don't recall, what other commissions went with the, like the fire department. I couldn't find them in my notes that John had. Which, you know, if you wanna go on to highway, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll take.
Do you want me to
highway.
take the
I'll take-
fire or?
I'll take fire and highway.
Okay.
That's good.
Alright,
I'm good with Peter Gully anyway.
yeah, alright. So you good with those for now, and then we'll square away the small ones? Okay,
So what I have is Jason is police, Sean is planning board, parks and rec, and Bert is fire department, highway.
yep,
So just wanna make sure.
okay.
Sean, did you wanna hold on to the, co-liaison with PD, or?
No, not necessarily. And then even like the co-liaison, I guess, you know,
That's
by
'cause I was
default.
brand
Yeah, yeah. So you got that all on your own. I think you can handle it.
new. Time will tell.
Yeah. Alright,
So,
so now we're on to, you wanna go with audit updates, Jim?
Sure. I would, in the future, I'll be a little more formal with stuff, but I've been kind of trying to acclimate myself to, you know, what I got myself into and what we're trying to accomplish. So I'd like to start off with, the first thing on the list is, each one of you has a copy of the audit,
Okay,
okay? It's yours to keep. If you want us to keep it on a file here, that's fine. Inside the audit book, I mean, the audit, main audit is a pile of numbers and stuff like that. It's good to look at it, especially at the balance sheet part and things like that. But there's 3 letters in there. And I
Okay.
strongly suggest you read the 3 letters, okay? You don't have to do it now,
Yeah.
okay? But I just want to give you that, okay?
Okay.
And, I mean, it's not something we're not gonna sit here and read this thing, okay? Basically, they can put together the general fund pretty good. When they get into the other accounts, all the little pots laying all around that the leprechauns have hidden in the woods, okay?
Mhm.
That's where they seem to have some issues, but, you know, read it, and as a follow-up to this, we are starting to gather up the information to send to the auditors for the 2020 audit. And in doing the 2020 audit, we will be working with them to correct anything that we feel is deficient from this audit.
Okay.
So, and then we have a couple of other things. There's something called GASB, called GASB. And GASB is Government Accounting Standards Board. And there are things that they dictate that towns should do. The State of New Hampshire Department of Revenue doesn't necessarily dictate that. But if the town wants to go out and borrow money of a bond issue or something like that, it helps if they have some of those under control. And a couple of those items have to do with potential liabilities from pensions and things like that, and another one is maintaining a capital depreciation schedule on the inventory of your hard infrastructure, your buildings, maybe not the streets themselves so much as culverts, bridges, things like that. And I'm not sure that we're into that. A lot of towns are not, but the bigger ones are. Okay? So we'll take a look at that, and then that's a choice you can make, and we'll be meeting with the auditors every week. We will meet with them and get their take on it. So as a follow-up to that, okay, and I'll get into it after down this list. Right now I'm trying to reconcile certain things, and I'll get into that when I get into a report of where we are budget-wise. Okay. So those are yours.
Okay.
Enjoy them. The plot is, it hasn't got much of a plot to it, but I think, you know.
Yeah.
And the pictures are lacking. So the next item I have is, it's come to me that you all were talking about selling some leftover town property, like tax deeded property and things like that.
Yes.
And you talked to Jay St. Jean,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who is probably suggesting sometime like early October, I think he was saying.
Okay.
Get the advertising put together, and I think we did talk about, you know, there's a buyer's premium, and that pays him, and he does all the advertising, all the setup, and he has his following that comes with it, which is usually pretty good. So there's nothing out of our budget to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Question, Jim.
Yeah,
What sort of premium does he get to do
I think it's 10%.
it? Okay, I mean, we could list it on MLS for 5 to 6%, and properties are hot these days. So I'm just wondering if we put it up with a broker, wouldn't that be a little bit, you know?
Well, it's a buyer's premium, he doesn't, in other words, it's like an auction, like going to the auction. You buy the antique rug and you pay a premium, you pay a little extra.
All right.
I mean, no, we'll have him, if you want, I can have him come down and talk to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably be worthwhile while we put it together.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said before, I've used him a couple of times, and the guy's been phenomenal in getting people to come out and buy stuff. And, you know, like this one here, you certainly can put a caveat on it that within a certain amount of time, it's gotta be removed properly.
Mhm.
What's the gentleman's name again?
His name is Jim St. Jean, and the St. Jean Auctioneers. They're one of the biggest auctioneers in the state. They do state surplus and stuff like that, and federal surplus. But I don't know what properties y'all got in mind, okay, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a list of about.
Well, I don't have a list, I have a stack here, okay?
Yeah, I think there's
So,
multiple properties, I mean, is there a thing on?
if somebody wants to get with me sometime, we can go through these, okay? The only one, the one on Turnpike, no, the one on, the old fire station, built prior to the Civil War, across from the Historical Society.
Okay.
I would be careful about selling that, because that was donated land, and I'm not sure if there's any caveats in it.
might touch base with Benty. I think he knew something about
Who?
that. Benty. I think he knew something about the history of that one.
Does he?
I think so.
Okay.
But.
But then you gotta figure what you're gonna do with the equipment that's in it.
Right, there's two
Yeah.
major pieces of equipment, the old fire engine, and then
Yeah.
there's an old pumper.
The pumper
that-
works. I used to take it out on
That
tour.
pumper, well, I'm talking about the hand pumper in
Yeah.
there. I mean, that's 150 years old.
It works.
It's an.
No, and I say it works. It wasn't that many years ago, in the last 15.
Yeah.
Myself and a couple other people,
But I
we
mean-
dragged that thing to
I
other
mean,
towns,
the
set it up,
old
and we were pumping,
fire
we were
engine
shooting water out of
probably
sky
has
high
a-
with it.
If we would either if we wanted to keep it,
Yeah.
we
The
need a
only-
place
the-
to house it.
The only,
Or we could sell it and it has a value of about $15,000 last time I priced it.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure.
I think there's a certain sentiment that people don't wanna sell it among some people. Other people will sell anything. It depends on
Yeah,
the-
but, I mean, it's just sitting there, it hasn't been run in 5 years, in my memory.
For the truck?
Yeah,
Yeah, we took that down to Fitchburg in a
Yeah.
parade a
Yeah.
number of years ago,
yeah,
and they put us right in the front of the parade.
yeah, I mean, it's.
They loved that truck,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
because it
mean,
was built in Fitchburg.
Can I see that file?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that,
And anyway, what I was gonna say about that old fire station is, if you sell it, is somebody gonna buy it and then create another problem for you? It's an odd building, it's on a postage stamp piece of land,
Yeah.
okay? That's something to think about. In other words, are you gonna have a problem with it? As opposed to maybe cleaning the building up and using it as a bit of a museum of some kind and getting the equipment going. In other words, putting the process back together that was started. Unfortunately, it was started by people that were a generation older than me, and they're all gone.
Mhm.
I mean, it's up to you, but
yeah, I mean,
it's something to think about, because if somebody else goes in there, what are they gonna do with it? You put a shop or a store or what, or a repair place? I mean, there's no place to put a sewer.
Yeah.
no, I mean, I'm,
How did the PD function out of there?
Well, there was a pipe that left the building.
yeah, I think they're tapped into the well next door or something like that.
They get water from next door, yeah.
But as far as sanitary services,
The best you could put in there would be a holding tank. And you could get permitted for a holding tank
Yeah.
because of the way that
yeah,
it is. It's just something to think about, how much you're gonna get for it and how much trouble is it, how much down
And
the
then-
road is it gonna come back and bite you?
And
That's
on the
all.
other hand, what does it cost us a year to own it, is the other question. With insurance, and there must be electricity running out there, or?
yeah, there is electricity and.
I don't know if the electric's on, I paid the electric bill myself for a year.
Yeah.
It hardly got used, it was like.
And we are doing building maintenance on it intermittently. So there's a
It's hard to
cost
see the building
associated
right
there.
now. It's hard to see it, until you boarded up some windows or something, yeah. If you wanna know the truth on the insurance, it's negligible,
Is it?
because of the type of policy we have. I can find out, I will
Well,
find out for you, it's just
well, I
a
would
phone
just-
call.
Well, I mean, you know, the problem is all these little facilities add up, like for instance, building number 2.
Oh, I agree.
That's $14,000 a year right now. The old schoolhouse there is $4,000 or $5,000 a year, insurance fees.
Where have you found this number of 14,000?
I remember seeing the Primex quote when I was selectman passed, and I must have it in one of my folders someplace, but that was roughly what it was for that. It was valued at something like $2 million, building 2. So if you want to do any, number crunching on what it would cost to insure a $2 million building, and they were insuring the contents as well.
Mhm.
Even though I believe our agreement with Wexler Mills is that we are not responsible for the contents.
That's something that
I
we'd
guess
like.
you don't have to make any decisions.
Yeah.
I just brought that up as a thought, okay, a consideration, and I'll find out what it costs to insure that building.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is the-
I believe there was 11 properties that we were looking at being as a part of the auction.
Yeah,
Is there 11? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of them were taking the tax deed, and I know there was a waiting period for some of them, like 3 years.
Mhm.
before-
actually, the way it works is this. If it's within 3 years of when the auction's gonna be, then we have to notify the former owner, if we can find them, by registered mail and give them an opportunity to repurchase. The repurchase price is all the dollars that were due, including penalties and fees, at the time of the deeding, plus all of the taxes that weren't paid from the deeding to the present day with interest.
Mhm.
And assuming it would have gone to lien when other things went to lien, okay?
Yeah.
So that becomes pretty hefty. And I'm not sure which ones of those may fit that. The burned out house may come close.
Okay.
But I will check that out for you. In other words,
Yeah.
so what happens is if you wait 3 years and a day before you do anything,
Yeah,
then you just take, the money comes to the town and that's it. So you
Yeah.
don't have to go through that. It's a nasty spreadsheet to make.
Yeah.
I've made them, okay, it's not fun. But, so when you're dealing with blank parcels of land, where you have really no exposure to speak of, okay? You're better off waiting 3 years and then selling them.
right, that one on Greenville Road that you talked about, that burned out one.
Yeah.
I think that was tax deeded in the summer of 2019, so we're into it for 2 years now.
So, and she did contact me and give me a new address, I put it in the file. So she would get from us a request. If she wanted to buy it back, she could buy it back,
Okay.
but she'd have to buy it back with cash.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know where she gets the cash from, and with the ability to tear it down, because it's a public nuisance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and if I recall, at the time it was deeded, tax deeded, there was $30,000 in back taxes due on it.
Oh, yes, huge.
And, you know, we've spent money fencing it off and doing some cleaning
Mhm.
around it. So,
Yeah.
Is there also asbestos in that?
I don't know, I've never been inside.
I think the siding is the old.
It's asbestos
yeah.
siding,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't want to go inside it now.
Yeah, it's, yeah, the tear down is.
I mean, the
gonna be-
basement to the roof is open.
Yeah,
So you're gonna continue to work with the auctioneer's service then, and
Yeah.
you know, make sure that
What I
these properties
need
are
to
eligible.
know from you, and
Yeah.
why I brought that stack out, is that stack what you're talking about?
Mhm.
So if you guys could go through and say, hey, yeah, that's a stack, and I can double check and see if there's anything else laying around,
Mhm.
okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
But what I need to do is I need to get him copies of all the property tax cards, and then he'll come out and get with me, and we'll go and we'll look at all the properties, so he'll see them, and then have him come in and meet with you.
Okay.
I've seen most of these, but, okay. Yeah, the problem is when we sell these things off, for, you know, since they've been tax deeded, the land and often is not the building itself are not worth the money that's currently owed to the town, which is why they abandoned it.
Mhm.
Actually, the ones I've done with him, not each property,
Yeah,
but collectively, the town's got more money than what was owed.
Okay.
Not a lot,
Yeah.
okay, but some, you know, you have your goods and bads in there,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're not supposed to have a windfall on it either, so.
yeah, I mean, if we get more money
Goes back,
than is currently owed, I think we have to pay that back to the owner if it's within that 3-year period.
Mhm.
Yeah,
like a.
But it's more than what's owed at the date of the sale.
So,
So don't forget, you say somebody owes $30,000, it was deeded 2 years ago, it's a lot more than that now.
Yeah, I agree.
I can kind of go through some of, like the one on the top there.
Yeah, well, that ain't going
There's
nowhere.
litigation.
That's
Yeah,
in litigation.
yeah,
So I found that, and I got that in the file,
yeah,
because there's a lawsuit on this one.
yeah. Yeah, so just if you could do some research on each one of those and find out at
Okay.
what stage they are. And then we had started working off a list, like as a part of routine. There were some additional properties that were at a certain period, and I feel like it was a 3-year period. Like in order to deed them, like they've been behind for 3 years. Is that,
Well, there, you've got more sitting there to be deeded.
yeah.
That's another subject.
So as we go through this and create this process, then I would like to, go through that list and see, because I know some people have payment arrangements, and if they're not keeping up with their arrangements, or
The payment arrangement needs to be the kind that, at the end of a year, they probably owe less than they did the year before. Maybe not a lot, but something. You can't be going deeper into the hole without, but if you get with the assessors too,
Yeah.
there are things one can do to prevent the foreclosure, okay?
yeah,
Of people who are, let's say, destitute, without throwing them out on the street or something.
yeah, okay,
Arrangements that you can have tax deferrals
yeah,
where the interest is 6%. Think of it like a reverse mortgage, okay? Only it's with the town. Then when you go to sell it, you gotta pay the whole thing back.
yeah,
But, that's not gonna work with a 20-year-old, but I mean, for somebody my age, it might work.
yeah,
So, I mean, there are things to look at, but you're right, we should clear it up because it's too big a list,
yeah, yep,
okay? You have an agreement with Comcast?
yes,
I have not read it, but you guys are the experts on it, or somebody is. Maybe the guy running the camera is, but here's your Comcast agreement. Which obviously, I think that's a signed copy of what they agreed to.
yeah.
What is the Comcast agreement in a nutshell?
I don't know, I haven't read it, I just got it.
Okay. All right.
I'm relying on you guys. Yeah.
So,
You weren't here either, Bert.
the franchise fee, we bumped up to 3%,
Okay.
and this is for, it's a 10-year agreement,
3%, 10 years. Okay.
and it gets us, HD access, like a channel,
Okay.
and that should be ready sometime next year.
All right.
Did you want that?
No, I
No? Okay.
just needed the gist of it.
So if you don't mind backing up a little,
Sure.
with the auctions, what is the criteria where the town would typically say it's time? Is it, I'm hearing 3 years,
Yeah.
is
So-
that a magic number, or is it?
Well, there's two magic numbers, so multiple magic numbers, I should say. When I went through tax deeding with the previous board, the first thing was that the taxes had to be 3 years in arrears. I.e., they had made no payments whatsoever for 3 years.
Mhm.
Okay, that was criteria number one. Criteria number two, as Jim explained, was after it's tax deeded, they have another 3 years to pay off their taxes and buy the property back from the town. Okay, after that 3-year period is expired, I don't believe we have any obligation to the previous owners, other than maybe if we make a profit.
If I could just modify, what you said is essentially probably the town's policy. What it's based on, if you go and look at the tax deeding and the tax lien process, you've got to look at both. In taxes, when you first pay don't pay your taxes, anytime, if they go 30 days or beyond, the tax collector can lien the property. And that takes, and it steps the interest up from, I think, 6 to 12% or 6 to 9 or
It's hefty.
something like that. Okay, it ups the interest and it records a lien at the registry of deeds. And the law didn't say shall do it. So people got a little cute in some towns, they never liened them, okay? But it does say shall. So the tax collector, certainly within a reasonable amount of time, 6 or 7 months after the taxes are due, needs to go to lien.
Mhm.
The law then says that the tax collector shall deed to the town after 2 years, and it's 2 years and 1 day. Okay, so you get up close to 3 years, 2.5 years or
Okay,
something like
we,
that.
we were using 3 years as
Right.
the criteria.
And then what takes place is there's a 3-year period in which the former owner can buy it back, but the town can still sell it, but it has to go through a procedure.
Mhm.
So which is why I said before, if you have a building, and you don't want the liability of a building, you know, vandalism and that sort of stuff, or you don't want to become a landlord, you sell the thing, you go through the procedure. But if you got a vacant lot, let it sit for 3 years and then sell it, nobody bothered with it. I mean, that's how I view it.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why we were going through that auction service, was that they know the process.
They do
Yeah.
tons
Yeah.
of them for towns.
Yep.
That's one of their specialties is municipal auctions.
And they keep,
Surplus.
so it releases us from the liability of, you
Yeah.
know, making errors in the process.
Well, maybe.
Okay, the deeds, one thing we need to double check is we need to double check the deed that the collector gave and the town accepted, make sure that's good. We don't give them a warranty deed, we give them a quitclaim deed.
Mhm.
So sometimes people will buy these things and come back and say, hey, you sold me something I can't get a mortgage on, and I wanna build a house there. Well, you get a quitclaim deed.
Right.
You know, the bank says you gotta wait a certain amount of time, that's the buyer's problem. We don't give warranty deeds.
Yeah.
That's about it, but I mean, I just wanted to know if you wanna continue with the process. If that looks like your list, then we can double check.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure when we found that stack of deeds, right? And Susan was really helpful today going through and finding things that we might need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although most of the stuff is in the basement, right?
I would offer it, you know, and thinking about what I said about putting it on the MLS, I think by using an auction house, the typical realtor isn't used to dealing with the legal ramifications. They would just want to have a property listed and sell it. Whereas an auction house has to be a little more cautious and reputable about checking out the legalities of what they sell, and they're probably far more familiar with
These guys have been in business
with
for
the
a couple
legal
generations.
ramifications of selling a property that may have gone less than 3 years.
Mhm.
So I think, you know, you're right, Sean, that the liability would be less for us. It wouldn't go away entirely, but it would go away to an extent.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was in an auction with them where we sold in one morning 74 building lots in one town. Lots that you couldn't sell, the realtors couldn't sell
Yeah.
Yeah.
them. You know, by 9:30 in the morning it was a feeding frenzy, and they all went. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's good. I do want to continue on that path.
I just
and
want to
then get it-
continue on the path. of,
Yep.
Yeah,
you know,
and you know, to follow up, I think it was Jason's comment about removal of some of these eyesores. We should find out what sort of conditions we can place on the agreement to buy, i.e., you know, they'll remove an ugly building or
That was
condemned building within 6 months, say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to put too many conditions on it, like, cause I don't want to get back into like issues like with the one that's on the top
Oh, no,
there.
no, you don't want something like that.
Yeah, no.
No.
So like just, yeah,
I know what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
You wanna make it as clean as possible, but at the same time, we don't wanna get stuck somewhere in the middle.
yeah. No, that's true.
Jim, Do you want me to run a report of properties owned by the town? And then you can figure out if,
Oh, yeah, we'll do that this week. Yeah, I know the reports you can run.
oh,
Okay, so we'll get together and run them, yeah, thanks. Okay, a road complaint. Okay, I have copies of the statutes if you want. Okay, I had a phone call from a woman named Susan Kiehn, I think it is, lives in Peterborough. And in January, she was visiting Spindleback Lane in Wilder Village. And she apparently hit a pothole on Nashville Road, blew out a tire and bent the rim. And she wants us to pay for it, okay? I'm not sure where all this went, but I eventually found it in the papers, okay, in a pile of papers. And I don't doubt that she hit a pothole and dented the rim. But I'm not sure if you're all aware of it. But towns are not liable for that. Otherwise,
Yeah, I wouldn't think
otherwise
so.
you'd be fixing
Yeah.
everybody's front end every spring.
Yeah.
Okay, you'd be running a repair shop. So what I was gonna do, I told her I would answer her, okay? And she's been playing telephone tag, calling and wasn't getting answers, she said, but anyway. I was gonna send her a copy of the statute and a copy of, let's see if we can find it here. There's I got it here somewhere, but anyway, I got a thing from the New Hampshire Municipal Association dealing directly with this. Now, towns aren't totally immune, but what it says is if there's a defect in the road and it's reported to the town in writing, now we get a whole different ballgame. The town has to, in a reasonable manner, address it. Doesn't mean it has to fix it. It could put a safety cone out there, okay, you know. So I was gonna send this back to her, but I decided that you should know ahead of time in case, you know, you get, I don't want you blindsided or something with somebody
Okay.
who's upset about it, but it, and I've spoken to her about it, so she understands that it's something that, you know, towns aren't liable for. And then she told me how bad the road was out there, so this morning I took a ride out there, right? And I went all around Spindleback. And there's a couple of places where the pavement's a little scuffed up. And when you go in and go to the right and come around, as you come toward the end of the, coming around it, because it's built like a lollipop, you know, it goes straight in.
Yeah.
Does that. There's a spot where there's a little bit of a depression, where there's obviously a pipe under the road. But I don't think it'd be on our top 3 roads to get fixed.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I went around a Nashville Road looking for some giant patch, and I couldn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm not saying she didn't hit something,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay? But,
Well, thank you for addressing that. You know, finding it.
but this thing's been laying around for a couple of months, so
Mhm.
I wanna get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, a nice letter to the lady with a copy of the statute and say, hey, we're sorry for your misfortune, however, it is not a town responsibility.
I'm gonna give her a copy of the specific statute and an excerpt from the New Hampshire Municipal Association's interpretation of the statute.
Yeah.
Because it's, even though that's a legal thing, it's not a attorney-client privilege,
Yep.
publication.
Yeah.
So if I can go ahead and do that.
Yep.
Would that be considered a formal letter of complaint, and now the town has to take action?
Well, I went
on
out
that?
there in your part, and I don't see anything that needs to be addressed at the immediate time, other than the road committee in the next 2 years might take a ride out there. I mean, I did go out and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she-
So I'm fine with that. I think we're good, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
If you know Spindleback, you really can't drive it too fast.
Mhm.
You know, you'd be in somebody's lawn. Okay. You can just pass these down, Joe, and till you need to sign them. There's a payroll update form.
And then item number 6 on your list,
Yeah,
he wants to be anonymous, so just, he
okay,
doesn't want it recognized.
okay, we'll take it off.
Yeah.
I mean,
See that, Jack?
so while you're doing that, we'll get into number 6 here.
Yeah, don't we have to vote on acceptance of a gift?
Yeah, I don't know if it's below a certain amount, there's different thresholds, but it doesn't hurt to vote on it. You don't need to hold a hearing with this.
No, but I'm saying,
Yes.
we need to acknowledge what the gift was, not necessarily who it was from,
Mhm.
but we also need to acknowledge acceptance of it.
Right, so that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a donation of $350. And
Wait, did
and
you
on the
just say they
memo, it
want it to
says
be
rec moving, so I
anonymous?
think this had to do with some recreation moving.
Yeah, yeah, well, he didn't mention their name, so,
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
yeah.
I didn't read the
See
name,
that.
Richard. I didn't know that he wanted to be anonymous, but
Yeah,
that can be taken care of.
okay,
Whoever it was.
We're not gonna publish it in the minutes or something, you know, we'll redact it.
okay.
Right. So, if the board would like to make a motion to accept a donation of $350 for the Recreation Department.
So moved.
Is there a second?
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You know, we could also acknowledge that we thank the anonymous donor.
Yes.
And we hope there are many in the future.
I'm glad you accepted because the check was cashed already. That's okay, all right. Okay, next thing I got is just an FYI. Eversource is gonna be working on the transmission lines. And they contracted with Michelle's Corporation. And they're gonna be doing power line right away through New Westford, replacing wooden transmission poles with weathering steel poles of similar height and design. That's called a rusty pole. There's a type of rust that goes on it, and it's like painting it and it'll last forever.
Oh, weathering steel.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the work is scheduled to take place from August through September with restoration of the grounds by October.
And where is this work gonna be located?
Is that
Where is the work being done?
on the transmission line?
Oh, so just the whole line in general?
Yeah,
Well, no, there's certain parts of it that the planning
Okay.
board, or the ZBA rather, ZBA approved.
Oh, all right.
So there is, somebody could find where they're gonna work on it, but it'll be pretty obvious.
Okay, good.
Okay,
it's pretty much all on the transmission line, except there's one agreement with the resident to go through his property.
Okay,
So
as long
if
as
you
he's
want-
been properly notified.
Yeah, oh yeah, we do negotiate.
I think, I just wanted to bring, as it said, you know, it was sent to me, John Shamlawful had some suggestions about non-public sessions,
Mm-hmm.
working the
Oh, the Zoom.
Zoom and stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you all got it and saw it, and I think what he was trying to do was make it more palatable to people who were zooming in.
Yeah, so we weren't closing the meeting and then
Right,
reopening
right. So
it.
I just wanted to, okay,
Would make my life easier too.
Yep,
okay.
mute and pause.
We have a program of low-income drought assistance program. Okay, put out by the Department of Environmental Services. And I guess the question is, do you want us to let people know through our website that this is available?
I think it would be good,
Yeah.
yeah, have that information out there for people.
Have we heard of any dry wells? I mean, I know a few years ago, people were experiencing dry wells and going down to the Sauhegan with buckets of water to flush their john. But, you know, we did have a fairly wet July. It looks like August isn't gonna be much drier. So, I don't know that anybody has needed it. I haven't heard of any dry wells. Have you, Sean?
No, I haven't, but it doesn't hurt to have the information out there for
Yeah.
people. You know, I don't talk to everybody in town.
Yeah,
but,
no, obviously, if it's available, let's do it.
Okay.
yeah, the more informational things that we can put on the website, the better, Jim.
Yeah. We're gonna work together on that.
That's right.
There's some bits and pieces. I look at the numbers, I look at the accounting system, and then I go mad, and then I go do something else, and then I come back to it, okay? So, anyway, we have ARPA grants, ARPA. Application is due by Wednesday, August 18th.
Yep.
Having been out of the municipal management business for well over a year, I'm not quite sure what these things are. I haven't had a chance to look at them, but this is, let's see, the purpose of this is for towns, towns and cities that had financial hardships as a result of COVID. How would we qualify that?
Okay, well, I did some research on this. There are 5 major areas. 1, it has to be a public health expenditure. 2, it has to address negative economic impacts of COVID-19. 3, it has to address replacing lost public sector revenue. 4, it has to provide premium pay for essential workers, i.e. you can give essential workers more money using these funds. And 5, we can invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And when you get into the water and sewer portion, that's where we could probably actually spend the close to $1 million that we would eventually be eligible for in terms of water quality, drainage systems, ecological initiatives, that sort of thing, where we can say, okay, this is money, let's push it towards, you know, the highway department and improve our drainage systems. I mean, we have a number of culverts that have flooded out over the years, and we just have not had the money or the wherewithal to replace them. And even if we didn't spend the money internally, we could possibly put together a contract to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tricky, some of the spending, but with a little judicial grant writing, I think we could figure out ways to spend a couple of $1 million or so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we may even be able to do some road repair, and we can also do some things for the school, and we are desperately in need of better broadband service here in town.
Mm. Yep.
So, I mean, I'd love to see that, and Craig Smith and Lou Alvarez have talked to us on a couple occasions on that.
Yep.
So I'm gonna pass this on to Lou Alvarez, unless you wanna take care of it.
He's gonna come and see me next week.
Lou?
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, but all we have to do right now.
And just get our name in there.
Right. And
Fill out the cover sheet.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's a matter of filling out, it's on an e-portal, so you can do it right online.
yeah.
I've got the website here, if you need it, Jim.
Oh, I got it must be right there.
Yeah, it's probably right there.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of filling out about 2 or 3 pages, takes about 15 minutes, and that gets us set up to accept the money. But the thing is, the only string I could find in this whole thing was you have to account for every nickel you spent.
Yeah.
So we would have to set up a revolving account.
I've done these.
Yeah, but according to RSA 3195, that's the.
I've done them according to FEMA requirements for building bridges.
Yeah, but this is we don't report to the state, we report to the federal
Right.
government, United States Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
The state gives us the money, But if we don't spend it, we can give it back. There's nothing to prevent that.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of things along this line where it was involved with, one was FEMA money for a bridge,
Yep.
and another was
You see that, Jay?
replacing water mains for a water system.
Okay.
Yeah, but,
And you have to account for everything.
but the New Hampshire Municipal Association has set up a special task force with this, and through them, the state has set up, I think it's GIDA or something like that, a consulting firm that is supposed to help you through the process of how to spend this money and to make sure we don't spend it erroneously where we have to give it back.
Yeah, so I'm fine with getting set up to accept the money, but I definitely would like to see it accounted for completely separately, like through that whole process, so we can keep track of it.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
This is coming from the federal government to the state government, and then they distribute it to
To us,
municipalities.
correct. That's the process.
That's the way a lot of these grants work.
And then we report, not to the state, but to the federal government,
Straight to the federal government.
straight to the federal government.
Is that who we would file with as well, or we
Yes,
file
all the,
with this?
well, no, we file with the state to accept the grant, or accept the money, but then the revenue or expenditures are reported through a mechanism to the federal government. And I think the first report for the expenditures is due like in October.
okay.
So, once you accept it, all of a sudden, things start to happen fairly
I mean,
quickly.
if we're gonna apply, we have to have some idea of what we're gonna do with the money. I mean, you know.
I'm more than happy to help you figure out how to spend bucks.
I'll leave that one alone. Okay, next item, and I was looking at some stuff the municipal association had. We also found it here. Non-public minutes. Pass these around. There is a setup that a number of towns use that's quite helpful for non-public sessions with minutes. And what they do is, they get a form. You go to a non-public session, and while you're sitting there, you fill out the form. When you get done, you got the minutes, and if it's gonna be put away, you put them in a notebook, and that's it. So I just wanna show you gentlemen the form, and ask if you wanna give it a try. You may have tried it in the past, I have no idea. And I got a copy for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Selectman,
Yes, John.
the planning board has actually used that form and has at least one set of sealed minutes that are sealed, taped, and signed under the tape over in the land use office. So we have used it before. It works pretty easily.
Okay.
All right.
I couldn't hear what he said, but
The planning boards use this.
did it work for them okay?
It worked for them. Yeah, one comment I would make on our going into non-public sessions is, we seem to, well, we have in the past, last couple meetings we've had, we seem to bounce in and out of non-public sessions, which interrupts the video flow for people watching. And I'm just wondering if it would be possible, or we should make an effort to hold all the non-public sessions to the end of the meeting perhaps, or put them right up front, either way.
Yeah. That last meeting, it got a little bit, because we had someone come in for a certain time, and then the meeting with Mike went a little bit longer, yeah. So it would be good, and we've sort of front-loaded the non-publics as of late with the police department to make it so that, like, it seems to be a good time for him to come in,
Yeah.
as at the beginning of the meeting.
But I'm just suggesting,
Yeah.
let's push them all together if possible.
Okay.
I don't know, is that legal to put, say you had personnel, and then a litigation thing, and you know,
I
is
don't-
it
I don't think,
appropriate to say, hey, we're going into non-public under subcategory A, D, and then also I, and we're gonna be discussing 4 different topics, is that?
No,
you can't do that.
you can't do, you got you couldn't go in to discuss Joe, and then go in to discuss Harry, and then discuss a lawsuit from somewhere else. You got to do each one separately. So you come out into a public session, and then you go back in again. So you have separate sessions.
Yeah.
And the only thing, I mean, this has nothing to do with it in a way, but the only time you can meet privately in what looks like a non-public session is with your attorney to get legal advice, and that's not a meeting.
But what,
So, you know, you don't have
what I'm
anything.
suggesting is that, and I know what Jason's saying, is yes, we cannot jump from public, non-public to non-public to non-public. We have to take a break in between to go public and then non-public. But I'm suggesting we should be doing a
All at the
sequence at the
That's what I'm
end.
saying, yeah.
Even though it's awkward procedurally,
Yeah.
it just,
If you try and schedule your meetings that way,
yeah.
it's good, the public likes it better, and
Yeah,
it
I
just
mean,
works better.
The public
Yeah.
wants to see what's going on, but then they don't want to sit there for 45 minutes with a blank screen.
I think it's a good point.
I think we could try this form out tonight.
Okay.
I got a quick one. Quick non-public at the end.
Okay. Well, we'll use it when we get there.
Yep,
Okay,
All right, fair enough.
practice.
okay. I have calendars, just so you know, for 2022, I have calendars for town meeting calendar, and one is a general calendar that's kind of for everybody. They're available on the Municipal Association website if you want me to print copies for you, or, do you have mailboxes?
Oh,
No, I just do email. I mean,
No, you don't have
Yeah.
a mailbox here like.
No,
okay.
This was our mailbox. Our
Oh,
before
binders.
the binders were kinda,
Okay,
Any new stuff in this.
no, I mean, I'm perfectly happy to receive everything via email because I save everything.
okay. But let me know how you want to be informed. But what I can do is I can either print them or I can email them to you.
email's fine. Does email work for you, Jay?
Yeah.
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 then-
I mean, it's
Save some
handy,
paper.
it's handy to have because if we know where our critical dates are, we can stay well in advance of them and getting things done. Yeah, we all see that. So I'll go ahead and,
I think we did have
Send that.
something in here, didn't we?
Yeah, but I think,
We have it for 2021.
yeah, so
An HMA.
he's talking 2022,
Yeah.
what we have to do in late December, early January to make all the deadlines.
Jim, can I get a copy, or will you send me the link and I'll?
what's that?
Can I get a copy of the calendars too?
Oh, yeah,
Just that way I.
oh, yeah. We're gonna post the thing.
Oh, okay, cool. Then
We'll post it so everybody can see it. We're not gonna hide it, we're gonna let you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly important for posting warrant articles and for the budget.
Mhm.
Yeah, the planning board, the zoning and changes and stuff like that, so that's in there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at this till now. So, a lot of this information is for taxpayers. Wednesday, September 1st, last day for taxpayer to appeal denial of request for tax exemption. So
Mhm.
it's
for
it's not
everybody.
just for municipalities, it's for the people too. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to get into accounting reports, okay. I have I'm going through the accounting system and it looks like in 2019, in 2020, when the tax rate was set, nobody put the warrant into the accounting system. So I want you to think about it this way, without getting into a whole thing about how the accounting system works. It's a modified accrual system, which means when a warrant is issued for revenue to the town books it in their system at that time as revenue. It's a double entry system, so you'd enter it as revenue, and then you would also enter it as a receivable. Well, it looks like for the last year plus, nobody's entered warrants. Now, in fairness to Roger, that's never been his job, okay?
Yeah.
the treasurer doesn't do it, the treasurer has a cash book, okay? So it looks like the warrants weren't getting put in. So when you go and run a revenue report, you've seen budget reports, I know you've seen those. Well, a revenue report looks like the same thing. You get two budgets. Here's my budget for revenue, here's my budget for spending. And your revenue budget that you really look at and track is everything but property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because when you set the tax rate, the property tax is based on the shortfall. And so it's difficult to run this because, for example, if there's a timber tax bill that's sent out, and that's a warrant, I look over here and I got nothing, zero. I know from being in that room there, that there's timber tax warrants that are going out. So we're not seeing the revenue in the accounting system. The cash is getting there. And the way it's been getting there is it gets booked to the receivable account on one side and the cash account on the other. So I guess what I'm saying is we got to fix the revenue side of this thing. We got to put the revenue budget into the accounting system, and we have a revenue budget.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you all signed off on the 626 going into town meeting, that had your revenue budget. So that should be in there. So we're gonna have to work on putting that in. If you use the system properly when you're doing budgets, once everything's voted on, a couple of keystrokes sends the whole thing over. I got a funny feeling we're gonna be doing it item by item.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's on the revenue side. On the expense side, and I got some printouts here, it looks like you're around 48%. So you look like you're okay on the operating budget. However, and I'm trying to reconcile this, is when you get done with town meeting, the clerk sends in the minutes. This is what's voted, this is what got approved. And since in an SB2 town, it would say, okay, there's no amending at the final town meeting, that's just a vote. So what's up and down gets sent in, and we're gonna add that up and make sure it balances, because when I look at the report that we sent in, which is an MS-232, it's got more dollars in it than what the accounting system has. If I remember correctly, it's like $179,000 more. Well, where's the money here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when we prepare a budget or we look at this, what we send the state needs to match our accounting system to the penny, okay? And what we're not doing now is the cash that's collected by Debbie for taxes is coming to the treasurer, who then gives it to Roger, who then books it, like in the past. What happened, as I told you, we never got the warrant in there. But if we have the warrant in there on the receivable account, and I got something that says $12 million, and I got $6 million collected, I should show $6 million to be collected. Well, the to be collected isn't there, and we should be reconciling that every month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it sounds easy, okay, but it's gonna take a little effort, but everybody's working really good, so.
Right, under an
Okay.
accrual system, that's how you do it, as accounts
Yeah.
receivable, and it's listed as an asset.
Yeah, in this kind of accounting, it's hard to find a course in a college, because it's not commercial accounting. No, but, so anyway, that's what we're working on right now. I do have some reports, if you wanna look at them after. Okay.
Please.
And I'll, you know, I can make them available, but I'm trying to figure out why these two things don't match.
Yeah.
And none of the capital items made it into the accounting system. Just what was spent, but they didn't make it into the budget side of it. There's no, where to put it? There's no severe problem, okay? It's just a question of sorting it out, getting things in the right place, and we'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did warn us of this.
I sort of
That was what
predicted
you-
this.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
I mean,
So I'm glad to see you're making headway on it.
Yeah, and it's,
And I look forward to being able to understand all the terms you're using as we go through the budget process.
well, sometimes you wanna, let me know, just come in, we can sit down at the computer and go through the accounting system, just show you the reports and just give you some idea of how it works.
Hmm.
It's not hard to get a broad concept of it. It's really not difficult. It's, I know I've been doing it for a while, but the basic concept is simple, once you get the hang of what's going on.
Mhm.
And you don't have to memorize a lot of stuff.
Just might take you up on that.
Okay. And,
Oh, before we get into the next item, Jim, I'd like to go back to the AARPA grants. Just
Yeah.
one concern is we have 2 weeks to get that thing done.
that's my concern too.
Okay. And it needs to be signed off by a town official. I'd like to propose that we give Jim the authority to sign off on it on our behalf.
Yeah, I'm a little bit not sold on taking federal grants. And state grants, I view them with some hesitancy because at the end of the day, it comes out of our pocket. It comes out of everybody's pocket in this country. And so the notion of free money is silly, in my opinion.
There's no such thing as free money.
Yeah.
You're going to make it up on your income tax, federal income tax, one way or another, whatever they pass down in Washington. The point is that if we decline to accept this, the money doesn't just vanish. The state gets it back and redistributes to those towns who are willing to accept it. So it's better we accept our share than to give it to the folks next door.
Yeah, and I understand that mentality as well. I would like to know for sure what kind of strings are attached. I would not wanna just,
Well, and that's why we're gonna go through and it's gonna be done correctly and kept very separate, and if something comes out down the line, and we're not gonna play in gray areas of spending of it, like it's gonna be exactly what, is
Yeah.
outlined, and if we don't have anything to expend it on, then you just send it back.
but even if we have something to expend it on,
Mhm.
we have both the state government and the federal government, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to assume that there's hundreds of pages that explain how these things are working, and it's like, when you're bidding a construction job, if you don't see that one note buried way in the back, you can lose your business, you know what I mean?
Jason,
So-
I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I spent a good portion of this afternoon going through exactly that concern, looking for strings or hooks attached to this money. I also spent a good portion of the afternoon watching the New Hampshire Municipal Association lawyers there give presentations on how this money was, distributed, and how it was to be used. And the videos are online that are available to us. I mean, they're about an hour long where they did this seminar. And I downloaded, you can actually have this because I have all the little blurbies.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire Municipal Association has it online. I mean, it's horrible to listen to because it's so slow. But I went through it, pulled down the screenshots for the PowerPoint presentation that they did. And basically,
That's what these are.
that's what those are.
PowerPoint.
And the hooks were only how you could use it. And we may not be able to find creative ways to use it in accordance to those rules. But the money's available. Now, if we turn this down, it's gone forever. That's what I'm worried about, that we'll miss that deadline. That's why I'm saying, all we need to do is sign, yes, we're willing to accept the money, but if we can't use it, we return it, no harm, no foul.
And the state has to give it to towns.
It
If the
has-
state is not able to
They,
liquidate the fund, what
No.
happens with the rest of the money?
if the state can't use it, it goes back to the federal. But here's how it is, they've got a formula in there for redistribution of the funds, so, you know, I'm going to assume there's probably half a dozen towns that will say, no, based on your thinking, no, we can't use it. And they'll go back to the state, and then there'll be a trickle-in effect of $5,000 or $6,000 instead of $500,000 that we'll get as a follow-up or a, you know, extra. But I think what we need to do is provide Jim the authority to fill this form out and get us on the list. Because
And
we have
that's-
2 weeks, we've got 1 meeting,
As long as we get on the list,
but
we
you
can
need,
always pull the plug on it.
yeah, but,
That's what I think.
yes, but you need the authority to sign on that list. You need us to grant you that authority to sign. And it says specifically who has the authority to sign. It's either him or you.
So you making a motion?
I move that we grant Jim the authority to go online and fill out the grant form for the funds and to sign on behalf of the selectmen.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That gives you the authority to do
I
it.
will not sign your life away. Okay.
Yeah.
But if we're going on there, just to get into the store, that's okay. We don't have to purchase that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's why
I think that's,
thank you for this, Bert. I might watch that.
okay. Does any know, this is all part of Paper Reduction Act that's going on at the other end.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anyone know anything about the Beasley breach response?
I haven't missed that mechanism for years.
And I also have an email I found here from June 23rd, in which Jason, you mentioned that, so I figured I'd give it to you. If you knew about it, that's fine, I didn't want to throw it out.
Yep.
You're all set on that?
Yeah, this was regarding
It was a
the
question.
recreational
Yeah,
use of the
yeah.
landfill, and that's still in the air with the
Okay.
RC Club. for
What a
another
great
date.
place to fly drones.
We'll see if it comes to fruition.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, the highway block grant for July 1 of 2021 through April of 2022. The estimated payment is $147,273.89. I'll compare, I have to check and see what last year was. But
Okay.
and that's what I have for now. I can probably find a lot back there, but we'll get to it.
What did you just hand us? What is this?
What?
Is this an insurance?
I have no idea. All I can
Because I'm
think of
seeing
is it has
something
something to do with the loss of data or data getting
Ransomware
compromised.
supplemental. So it apparently is something that was looked at, but has not.
Yeah,
been
it
completed.
it was sitting in a stack of paper, and it looked like something I should ask about because maybe somebody had thought of doing something.
This is.
I do have a special file folder for it.
You do?
Susan's smiling, she knows where it is.
Is it round?
Yeah, and then incidentally, there's a final comment, I think it is. It's been, you know, the few days I've been here have been great, and everybody's been super helpful. I just want the board to know that, you got a great group of people here.
Excellent. Thank you.
That is good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, if we can pay them what they're worth, well, it's that.
I
That
don't think we
include-
need a non-public
I'll
session for
second
that.
that.
Susan, you can leave that out of the minutes
You
and
take a
tell
quick
them I
scan.
said it.
Yeah.
No. I bet the people are. Okay, that's what I have for tonight. Here's a, I don't know if one of you guys wants it, we can make copies, but it's 14 pages. Here's a budget report, and you have 48%, 48.83, almost 49% of the budget left. Right now, at the end of July.
We go,
So you're in good shape.
we go from 1st of January to 31 December, correct?
Yes.
For our full calendar.
Okay, so this is 7 months, it's on the operating budget with the lower number from what I see sent to the state. So, I guess that's good, but I'm in the process of peeling the onion, looking for the differences.
It's no-
Something didn't get updated,
Yeah, I got a feeling we haven't spent something.
yeah.
I have no clue what that is.
If nobody has a clue, it's,
Maybe do a
It's
email
a
search
Special file.
in the email. Maybe type that in the
I can
email.
Check that right
Well,
now.
Well, no, Scott's email.
No, I
Yeah.
can just see I can do a search to see what it is.
an email search is interesting, because I started the day with 7,844 emails in the inbox.
Emails or phone calls?
Huh?
Emails or phone calls?
Email, phone calls, nothing,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, Jim knocked those out last week.
Yeah, that went quick.
I have no idea.
I had emails going back to 2012 or 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Easily cyber insurance. That's what it is.
See, this is actually the type of stuff that other money would cover to upgrade our security systems. So what this is, or if I'm reading it correctly, is we had a data breach. Somebody hacked us.
I think this is an insurance policy.
Yeah,
That's
But-
not that we had a data breach.
um,
Or
'Cause I
is
thought
it?
it looked
It's
like.
Is that a
insurance
claim?
against
Yeah,
the
it
data
looked like
breach.
it was like
Yeah.
like an application to get the insurance against it.
yeah.
if you have a
But-
data breach, then you, and I'm talking about companies, so I don't know about municipalities, but you have an obligation now to reimburse the people whose information was stolen, so that they can have, credit reporting for free for so
Mhm.
many years.
Right. This grant thing would allow us to upgrade our security system.
I'm not sure how our Primex liability comes into this
Yeah,
either.
well, I'm not sure how good our security system is, I mean, or what confidential data is actually available.
I know where the file server is.
Yeah, I mean, but,
It's impressive.
you know,
what
I've
it
heard of
looks like.
towns being held hostage,
Right.
and gee, you know, pay me $7,000 in Bitcoin. I suspect we're just as vulnerable as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it's an application.
Okay.
That was started to be filled out and was never completed.
It was completed.
So you,
It'll have a home.
But, you know, that's something we should consider. That, you know, we are hackable, and if we are hacked,
Mm-hmm.
how exposed are we?
Can a town afford to pay $100 a year for every resident and their, to get their credit reporting done?
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of worth looking into.
So we're gonna follow up with that, Jim? Like to find out exactly what that was, what it covers, what direction that was going
or
in.
what do we have currently?
Yeah.
Is there already something that may be part of that $14,000?
This thing was pretty well buried.
Yeah, I never heard it even discussed.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
We were supposed to meet with Primus, wasn't?
Not Primex, but and Jeff Duro from I forget what company it is, with the insurance company for the health
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just the health insurance.
Yeah.
I see.
And that's still gonna happen probably mid to late August, so in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we updated that health insurance or worked on it, about 2 years ago. I mean, are we in that period where we need to renegotiate it?
It's every year,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
I got a
Yeah.
ransomware supplemental application with nothing filled out on it.
Yeah, that's usually if they do a denial of service.
I think the people that talk to on this are the people that take care of our system
You would
to
see
start with.
our networking
Our
system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
our consultant.
Okay,
but, I mean, how do you evaluate how good our system is when you just talk to the people who are doing it?
I think we need-
That's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know much about it.
No,
But,
no.
I've built networks before, but
Yeah, I
not in
mean,
recent years, put it this way.
yeah, but I mean.
The technology has changed.
And it's just so sophisticated that I suspect any, diligent hacker could just walk right in here and do anything you want.
That's why I got an iMac. So,
so did you wanna talk to CADNet about that then?
I asked them, do they know something about this, or?
Yeah. Okay,
Well, but one of the things I wanna do too around here is, we'll take a look at that, looking toward a budget, and looking toward a mini, let's say a mini capital improvement plan, or mini maintenance plan. What do we have for computers? What vintage are they? I think Windows 7 is what most of us have.
I'm not sure.
No,
Okay.
10 and 11's coming out end of this year.
well, no, in the office, yeah,
Yeah.
they have 7.
7,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Incidentally, I had, in the office back there, there was a laptop.
Mm-hmm,
I don't need 2 computers.
yeah,
So, you got the laptop now.
Okay, for the meetings.
That's this one right here, okay, and it works fine. If I wanna do something from home, first of all, it wouldn't be very often because it's only, 2.5 miles to get here, okay?
no,
I could very easily come in and take over the PC that's there and work. And I've done that in other places where I work. I don't need a laptop.
okay.
I'm not gonna bring a computer out here.
Did you say now there's a laptop that's not being used?
It's sitting right there.
It's being used right now.
Susan was bringing in her own laptop, which
Oh.
shouldn't have to do.
Minutes,
I mean,
meetings.
it's nice that she did it, but I mean, it's still.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Okay.
above and beyond.
I just remembered the building inspector
He needs-
making that request.
He needs one as well.
and his is a little bit different, where it'd be a different, like, durability.
It would be smaller.
He just needs one of them little notebook style.
Yeah, he wanted a Lenovo specifically because they're a little heavier duty.
Mm.
I work for IBM, so
Did we take
Well,
any action on
we
that?
did
or-
find $1,500 or so.
Well, that's where,
Well, if
like,
you
where
look at
we're
the-
at, like,
You look at
in
the
speaking
salary
with
for my
Sue.
position, there's a gap, okay?
What was that?
There's a gap, if you look at my position, there's a gap. I'm not recommending you hold a hearing and move the money, because the bottom number is what really counts. But if you wanna know where would I get $1,500, well, your budget is pretty much spot on right now. If you wanted to, you could take an accountant and building inspectors and have it go over a little bit.
Yeah.
But his
It would
wasn't,
be
he wasn't
upset.
even requesting that.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
was
no,
it
no, we
15?
didn't offer it to him, he asked for it.
Yeah.
This is gonna go back to Jim's successor anyways, so, I
Mhm.
mean,
What's that?
the laptop.
Oh, it
Wouldn't
could.
Well, it would be part of the,
It could if somebody really wanted it. But
Yeah,
Um,
they needed
Yeah, Scott was working from home on that every now and then.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as the building inspector's laptop, I just wanted to be able to get a better grasp on the numbers first, to see where everything was, like give Jim
Mhm.
time in the system to, make sure everything was input where it was supposed to be. and then go through it.
I see.
Can the audience make a comment on that?
Sure.
If you recall, at the last planning board meeting, we asked that the selectmen consider making sure that the land use clerk has a portable computer so they can actually be in the meeting room and running the Zoom
Yeah.
during the meetings, because it's a little bit awkward. Somebody else has to run the meetings, they can't fully participate, et cetera, et cetera. So if I could just add that comment in.
Can this computer be
Yeah,
sort
John,
of shared?
John, I wouldn't have a problem handing it over to her on planning board nights. I'll leave it in the office for her.
However the town makes that happen, be useful.
I didn't hear that.
Something about the town making.
Yeah, no, he said if the town can make that happen, it'd be,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have anything additionally tonight?
No, I think we covered all the high spots.
I think this Beasley may tie into Primex.
Okay.
Primex sometimes works through other carriers, so I will check with them,
Yeah.
find out what it is.
Jay, did you have anything additionally for tonight?
Just a little item that I wasn't sure. I was at the transfer station Saturday and Steve requested a magnetic broom because people have gotten flat tires when they drive near that construction demo dumpster
Yeah.
on that loading dock. And I don't know if the highway department has a broom like that.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say, like he should let Peter know. and
That's
then-
what I kind of thought, but he said,
Yeah.
you know, these are, and then signage. Materials for signage is what he said.
Yeah,
He would like to be authorized to purchase some. I was hoping Peter was back, because I was gonna see it.
Yeah.
He has old signs that could be repainted, and
yeah,
I'm not sure.
What sort of signage was he looking for?
Well, he's had people just dumping household trash and cardboard and then they take off before you can say anything. It's mostly to do with that, separating out the recyclables.
Hmm.
cause I believe that falls under the highway department.
That's what I thought, but
So
I told him
that-
I'd bring it up.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know.
we should push it, you know, maybe,
The magnetic broom sounds like.
Yeah, are we
Yeah.
due to meet with Peter in the near future?
He's
Yeah.
on
We
vacation
were.
right now.
I know, I realize that.
yeah, right when he comes back, cause we have to go through, what their progress is on, road-based prep and what roads they're gonna end up having to pave.
All right.
Cause that paving schedule's, changed considerably.
Oh, has it?
All right, I
Yeah,
got one
well,
more
'cause they
question.
weren't.
Oh,
remember
you're
the
saying
wintering
from
over of
Lowe's.
Hubbard
Yeah,
again,
yeah, okay.
and Collins, so,
One last question.
yeah,
Okay. I got a lease renewal between the town of New Ipswich and the Deborah Harity and Timothy Jones at Old Tavern Farm, 55 Old Tenny Road.
yeah. That was,
I need to know where to file it. Is it, I mean, what is it? I don't
well,
know.
there's, some properties, and I imagine we have an agreement with Warwick Mills too. And I had asked Scott to go through and find everything like that and put it all together.
I mean, what is that? Are we leasing them a residence or?
No, land.
what
So
are we-
Dixie had left the
Oh, okay.
land to the
I-
town.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I know where this is. This is the soccer field.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All
So,
right.
and now he's using it, you know, for his, he's maintaining and keeping the woods back and, using it for his sheep.
That's what I, you
Yeah.
know, I thought it might be up in that neck of the woods, but I wasn't sure, so now I know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
A
what
lot
that
of
is.
lamb chops.
Yeah, and speaking of lease agreements, after our tour of Building 2, I think the board would like to look at the lease agreement that we have with Warwick Mills.
That is
Building.
correct, yeah. Does Susan know where that is?
The lease renewals, it's in the file.
I'm kidding, that's
It's in the file,
in the
right?
The file.
in the pile.
Yeah, if we could look at that next week, maybe, that would be.
We have piles and files?
Mostly piles.
Well, I think that there's a lot we could do with the filing, the file cabinets there. And one of my thoughts is taking out stuff that we have to keep, boxing it and storing it somewhere else, and then making a list of what we got stored, so the file cabinets aren't so stuffed. I mean, I'll give you an example. We have to keep personnel files. It used to be 50 years, now I think it's 30, okay? So we gotta keep them a long time. But why are we keeping anything in there that's more than 2 or 3 years old? Why don't we just put them in a safe, secure spot, stack them up in a room somewhere where they're safe, and
Yeah, but-
call it a day?
I mean, do we need to start looking at something like Iron Mountain? 'Cause
Huh?
I mean, if this building ever burned to the ground, we would lose virtually all of our paper files.
It would help Jim file.
I mean, it might be helpful, but
Some towns years ago for property files bought fireproof file cabinets.
yeah.
But they can get compromised after a while.
Oh, yeah, I mean.
They're less than
it's-
perfect.
There's no perfect solution, even electronics, because the software changes.
But we have a
If you
legal
Do
obligation.
cloud-based, it can get hacked.
Yeah. I mean,
There is no perfect solution. It's life on planet Earth, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Nothing's-
mean, we
nothing's
can start
forever.
etching stuff in stone, but that's the best we're gonna do.
But there's a there's a statute that says how long we have
Yeah,
to
I'm
make
just,
an effort to keep things, and
I'm just, saying that we, should do the best we can within our economic or financial.
what I'm trying to
limits.
do is use cardboard boxes instead of file cabinets.
Yeah,
And then that would,
That's a good
that
start,
would,
Jim.
that would loosen
Yeah.
up, but when we get to that point,
Yeah.
okay,
well,
Yeah.
we gotta clear the tops first.
yeah, all right,
So you guys wanna go through the payables
This right here.
yeah,
and the correspondence folders?
okay. Oh, my God.
Then you're gonna sign yours.
Here's the contract.
Okay.
Check. Sign it there.
Do I sign for, as a selectman as well?
I don't think so.
Ah, this looks more like I was thinking. That's good.
Are we in old new business, or will there be a chance for people to bring business before the board tonight?
Sure, did you have something specifically, John?
Had 2 items.
Okay,
Be grateful.
One is to let the select board know that a landowner who has constructed a bridge across the Sohegan at River Road is once again quizzing the town on what is necessary for them to build a house on that. And, the planning board is going to discuss it at our next meeting with regards to them needing a driveway permit. But there are also questions of whether or not, for what they'll need, whether they'll need a building permit or not. I think they will. But the concern is that they've built a private bridge, and we need to understand what specifications that bridge will meet, because at some point the fire chief may have to take equipment across it. So we'll talk about it at the planning board, but the driveway permit falls under the road agent, or the selectman's designee, which is currently the road agent. My
Yeah.
assumption is that the bridge is effectively part of the driveway to where they want to build a house.
Oh.
And I think the town needs to understand this in case they build a house there and call for emergency services.
thank you. Did you wanna touch base with Peter on that?
I'm very familiar with the project and the violations that have occurred as a part of the non-filings that the homeowner and engineer did. They have violated the crap out of our zoning rules and regulations, and they need to go seek variances. They're too close to the property lines, they're blocking the navigable waterway,
Can you hear Bert, John?
Yep, I can hear Bert.
and the state has signed off, so they have a permit, but I'm not sure how long their permit is good for, or whether or not it needs renewal. But I believe they got their permit in 2018 or so
Is that for the bridge?
for the bridge. And it may have an expiration date on it that needs to be checked out. But there's a number of issues.
signed yours.
John, I think I outlined some of those issues to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the selectmen were aware of them.
But it definitely needs to be looked at, and I don't think the town should roll over and play dead like they did last time.
Okay.
So I can't hear Bert, but there was another issue I wanted to bring up.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not that microphone. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, we're ready, John.
Go, John.
So at the request of the previous town administrator, I filed a Freedom of Information Act request, wanting to know what lawyers have been employed by the town or have filed suit against the town in the last 12 months, and whether or not those lawyers have taken action against or for the town related to land use matters. And, the previous town administrator had said he would fulfill it by July 29th. Now, I know there's been a transition, I know Jim is back in the saddle, but we really need that information so that the planning board can select its own attorney.
Do you think you could get that to them?
Can you send me his request as an email?
Could you
That way I
read?
know exactly what he's looking for.
I wonder.
Yeah, I'll forward it to Jim.
Thank you, John.
All right, thanks, gentlemen.
Do you have any idea what he's looking for?
Yeah, it's just a list of the attorneys that the town uses so that the planning board can choose like a completely different firm.
Right, they're trying to avoid a conflict of
Oh,
authority.
okay, so what he wants is, he wants a,
Lawyers we use and lawyers that have brought cases against the town.
Regarding land use matters, not necessarily other matters.
we don't have that on this fixed document.
No.
No, but
no.
we should be able to figure out how many lawsuits we've had, and which firms handled the lawsuits.
So he's interested in knowing lawyers that have filed against the town.
Or for the town, for that matter.
He's right here, if he could comment.
Should be independent. John?
I can't hear you, but what we need to know for the planning board is what lawyers the town has employed and what lawyers have filed actions against the town on behalf of their clients, and whether or not those are related to land use matters. The planning board would just like to have an attorney that's independent from the town and that there are no conflicts of interest.
How far back do you wanna go?
I'd ask for 12 months.
Oh, okay,
It doesn't
We're
have
not
to go
going back to the
forever.
great-
I mean,
the great
obviously, I can
Santan
ask
time.
them too, but
Okay.
this will help
lawyers all
narrow
over the
down who
place.
to ask. Because I also have other recommendations from other land use officials in other towns.
Okay. Are you good with the
I
explanation?
know what
here?
he's looking for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not quite sure where to look for the
Information?
information, it's gonna be scattered.
Yeah.
But it would also be confidential. Probably, I would look in the sealed minutes.
Well, Roger has the list of attorneys that we paid.
Well, we can look at who we
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah.
It's the other one,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the reason for that was the planning board had selected someone, but then we found out that they actually are actively in litigation against the town.
Oh,
We also have Rachel Anderson on, I don't know if she had something to bring up.
Good evening, Rachel. Did you have anything for us? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Sue.
Copies of it. Just buy it.
Alright. That would be now. Can you hand me over the tables?
Yeah. Oh, no, this is the application.
Right?
This is what you
The
were
third
bringing up the
time.
other day, that this
We
is
could just
not
get
being done
that.
appropriately.
Yeah, yeah.
This should have been first, right?
Well, just the whole packet all at once would be fine.
Or, I mean, you first get an application for
Yeah,
withdrawing money, then you make your purchase, and then we sign off on the
Yep.
check, right?
So
yeah.
it should be the sequence.
That's how
Yeah.
it should be done. But it, you said it hasn't been done that way ever.
No, no. We go through approving the we approve the application, and then sometimes they either expend the money and then they get the money like back. Like, so they'll get like they use that as like a rebate, like into
Or
their,
into their line items.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the way the process should work is that if they've already been, a department head has already been budgeted for certain line items, they should be able to spend it at their discretion. And then it should just be entered in the system, and we're just signing off on the system. Every request shouldn't have to come through the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
And I don't believe it does.
No, I don't think they all
You
do,
go
but
nuts if it does.
Yeah, this is just.
But a few do.
This is just spending out of the capital reserve fund? Is that what I'm?
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, if they're
that,
gonna take something out of the capital reserve fund,
That's where you get
then
this.
I think you need to be upfront, because you are the ones that can withdraw.
Yeah. So
What if you
so
decide to
ideally,
vote not to withdraw it and you've already made the purchase? That's totally different than the operating budget.
yeah.
right.
So ideally, and this is what I said to Roger, was that I would like the whole packet. So a lot of times those withdrawals from their capital reserve accounts are, like, they propose that in their budgets the year before, that this is what, like, how they're gonna fund these different things. And that they have the money put aside there. So a copy of that, what they're looking to actually purchase, just give us the whole body of work at once instead of this 3-week process of,
Is that
trickling.
feasible to do it that way?
You know, when you withdraw from capital reserve, you're not buying a wrench or a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, you're buying something substantial.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that you ought to approve the withdrawal. You may not have the money in hand, but you need to approve the withdrawal for that purpose.
Yeah,
In
and
effect, a PO.
And I mentioned it a while back because sometimes the item is relatively small, it's already been budgeted for into a capital reserve account, and, is a pretty standard item. The problem is when we get into the bigger capital items, and that's why I was trying to set a dollar limit. Like a few years ago, they wanted to buy a new police cruiser, and they've been having trouble getting one. And they found one available then and there, and the Board of Selectmen got wind that the police department was buying it, and said, wait a second, whoa, we want to review it in detail as to what you're actually buying, because it was a $50,000 purchase. But it had already been discussed ad nauseum approved, you know, to buy a new vehicle, and we needed it desperately, but went through a rigmarole, special meeting and all that stuff to just buy something we needed, and had already been talked about
Yeah.
multiple times, so it was like, okay, should they have to come back and go through a justification process, or should we just let the department head say, go buy it because he has the money in his capital reserve? And there was no dollar fixed. I mean, it could have been a $20 Hammer, but this happened to be a $50,000 Cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But it's, that procedure really needs to be looked at. How much authority do we give the department heads, or do we not?
So with the capital reserve accounts, I could see like the value in it just like having this one step. But what I want to try to do is, instead of it be 3 steps in order to expend, just make it 1 step.
That
So
would
it's
be
easier for
it-
everybody.
But I think we need to write the procedure so that the department heads understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is nothing that says this is the procedure.
Yeah,
There's nothing laid out in black and white.
correct. In
I'm
so
just
many
looking-
things.
Sean. That warrant article
Mm-hmm.
is for self-contained breathing apparatus.
Yep.
And these are boots. Unless, I don't know who wrote this SCBA reserve, but there was $199,900 for the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus, pack, bottles, masks, to replace non-compliant equipment. Any grant monies, if awarded, will be applied to offset the expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, are boots part of that, or are they an accessory?
Yeah, and I don't know, because that was specific to that breathing
specific
equipment.
to SCBA.
Yeah, but this could be something different.
And I don't know who wrote SCBA on there,
Yeah,
because there's other articles that isn't there other
and I
capital
don't know,
reserves?
I don't think that
Right here would be
capital reserve is specifically.
Fire Department Protective Equipment Cap Reserve.
Yeah,
Now that one seems more appropriate than SCBA.
well, no, the SC, like that warrant
Yeah.
would allow them to take money out of that fund. Like there isn't one specifically set up for the SCBA, I don't think.
Oh, you don't think so? How did that get? That goes into,
Or no, the money was already there.
They just needed to move it.
is that how this is? That's interesting, it doesn't say,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't specify.
Therein lies the problem.
What, communication? You think communication can be a problem sometimes? That's, I mean, we signed off on it, but it is questionable whether or not we should have. In my
I
opinion.
don't think it's questionable.
If it's for breathing apparatus and we buy work boots,
Well, no, they're asking to take money out of that fund for breathing apparatuses. I don't know
And
why
use
they
it
wrote
for-
SCBA on that, like, I don't know who wrote that, but it comes out of the PPE. Like, that capital reserve fund is for, the equipment that they need.
okay. Alright, that makes sense. So there's 2 things in there, PPE and
I
CBA.
don't know why those notes are there.
They're just
Yeah,
notes.
Yeah,
So I guess,
yeah,
and who knows who wrote them.
correct. So as far as process and procedures, how should we address that? Because that's definitely something I want to start hammering out.
No, I agree it needs to be addressed. I'm just not sure how it's done in other towns, Jim, to streamline this process a little bit and make sure everybody understands how it's supposed to work.
I'm sure it varies a little bit from town to town. In some cases, it's quite simple, but usually, in the case of a fire department, the fire chief would come talk to the selectmen and say, you know, we're ready to make this purchase, we want the money to come out of this particular capital reserve fund. Everybody agrees and they go do it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
No, I know, but what we're trying to do is codify the procedures so that we don't go through 3 steps, but just 1 step and 1 sign-off.
Right, I mean, if I was a fire chief and I came in and I wanted to buy boots and I had a fire gear capital reserve account for coats and boots and helmets and all that stuff, that's fine. I tell you what I want, you agreed with it, and, you know, and signed off, then I would go do it. The only thing left you'd sign is something that would okay the expenditure and a request to the trustees to pay the money over.
So we really do need to make it a 2-step process.
You've gotta go to the trustees to get the money.
Right, but what you're saying is, we need to sign off and then submit the request to the trustees.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You don't
that
need to
is,
get the money ahead of time unless you have a cash flow problem.
no, but I'm saying we need to,
Yeah.
it needs to be 2 steps instead of the 1 you were suggesting. Because we need multiple sign-offs.
You know, you'd have a due from, once it's expended, it'd be a due from this particular capital
Well,
reserve
like,
account.
that piece of paper we've seen 3 times now, like, and there's the photocopies of us signing off on, like, in previous meetings.
Okay,
So it's more
Don't
for,
we-
I think it's more for
how many-
Roger, you know,
But how many times a year does this take place? It's not like it happens every week, I hope.
with some frequent,
Some frequency?
yeah.
I mean, we're limping along, but
Yeah.
it's limping.
So I guess we can establish a procedure and put it in place. So I guess as we start moving along, to have a proposed procedure, chat about it.
Yeah, and write it down so that we all understand how it's supposed to work, and then explain it to the department heads.
Okay.
So,
Or one thing you could consider is, although you can have it pretty well set in your minds, is invite the department heads in and have them participate in like a 1-hour work session. This shouldn't take long.
yeah, I mean,
And have them become part of the solution.
Yeah.
getting them all together in
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
place.
Somebody
They'll do it.
buys donuts and coffee and we're all good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's a good idea.
that's fine. We'll write down how they would like it to work.
Yeah.
And you might find that, you know, one of them has a really cool idea that works, because we all wanna get the job done and we wanna get it done efficiently, but we also wanna have accountability as we
Right,
do
we
it.
need an audit trail.
Alright. Yeah, so probably bring this back up, maybe we'll shoot for like middle of September or something. Cause it'll probably have to be during the day,
That's fine.
yeah.
I can flex my schedule.
That'll be our meeting.
For,
Instead of do burgers and hot dogs in the parking lot, we'll do coffees and donuts one morning. Like on a Wednesday morning or a Tuesday morning.
that'll be the next employee appreciation.
Yeah.
Well,
get 'em to work
department
too.
head
Yeah,
appreciation.
Department head appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as
Yeah, we'll just have to find out which one.
Help us fix this
Which one of
thing.
them's gonna bring the coffee and donuts.
Right.
Did you set a date on that? Or?
No, no. Did you make it through all the folders?
Oh, speaking of meetings and so forth, Jim, Scott had discontinued the staff meetings. He used to have them Wednesday mornings, right up to convey the decisions of the selectmen. And he
Right.
discontinued that practice. Did you intend to pick it back up, or are you going to hold
I
off?
think at some point, I mean, yes, it would be good to have them. I don't know that we need them every Wednesday morning. but maybe once a month, they can convey things, and if something needs to be conveyed, it can be done.
Well, you know, I found that without those, the department heads were not talking to each other. You
No,
know,
no, bring them in a room.
yeah, no, but I mean, once a week, they at least got to, you know, eyeball their counterpart and have a private conversation in the corner about how things were working and what they could do to make
Yeah.
it better.
The other thing we need to bring back, I don't think it's still active, is the loss prevention committee that's required by the Department of Labor,
Okay.
commonly called a safety committee.
Mhm.
Not for the safety of the public coming in here, but for the safety of the employees. And if you have more than a certain number of employees, you have to have a loss prevention. And in small towns, the fire department puts everybody up over the edge, okay? So, you know, you could have 12 employees or 8 employees in town, the fire department with its 35 people kicks you right over the edge. Unless they were pure volunteers, but they're paid on call usually. So we need to look at that.
Okay. Are you gonna put that together, or?
I'm gonna get to it.
Alright,
Okay, yeah,
Let's not overload his plate right away.
I
that's
came
what I'm
up
good,
with
I'm good, we're making like lists of number ones. And it's all number one.
Well, I think number one is straightening out, getting this audit going,
Yep,
getting the accounting system so it's more functional, and
The warrant list.
then making sure we're in a good position to get a tax rate and get the warrant going.
okay. Alan, did you have anything specifically tonight? You know, then going through all that stuff, or? We can go into our non-public. I'm gonna make a motion, to go into non-public session under 91A3, Section 2B. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You just doubled the size of the police force.
Mics are hot.
That's a good night's work.
That's not the right term to use. Mics are on.
There we go. In our non-public, we did make a decision, and we authorized the hiring of a police officer. Alright, good. And the minutes were sealed. Alright, did you have any? What's that?
The motion was made by Bert and seconded by Jason.
Yep. Thank you, Sue. Alright, we're good for tonight?
And the motion passed. Meeting.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.